You are listening to the Tricorder Transmissions. Or leave. Episode 11.
Just what the doctor ordered. Right, doctor? I couldn't have prescribed better.
Welcome to our first post-Las Vegas convention shore leave episode. We've got a lot to talk about tonight with an incredible panel. I'm your host, Jeff Hulit, and with me is one of only a few select women who can go from an augmented superhuman to an intergalactic cheerleader to a Star Trek redneck and still manage to make it to the Masquerade Bar every single night. My esteemed co-host on shore leave, Heather Barker, is here.
Superpowers, that's what it is.
Cosplay powers.
A lot of fun, but I'm exhausted.
So I just really wanted to thank everybody that came out to the Tricorder Transmissions birthday party that we had. It was one of the highlights of my trip, and we really enjoyed getting to see friends and new faces, and all of the people who wore our shirts. That was super awesome. It means a lot to us that so many people went and bought shirts, and having them all in the same room and getting to spend that time one-on-one was just super meaningful. We plan to do it again next year. And I don't know if we'll have a different shirt, but yeah, the group photos, it was all just super awesome. So thank you everybody for coming out.
Next up is the highest ranking officer on the show, self-appointed or otherwise. It's our Atavachron co-host and frequent shore leave guest, the indispensable Admiral Claire Little.
Hello.
Hi.
Good to be with you guys.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Very good. Made it home safe?
Yes.
Excellent. And our fourth chair for the evening is a man who makes his living on the high seas and hopes to one day be assigned to the possibly decommissioned floating enterprise. It is Mr. Ian Adams.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Excellent, excellent. Good to have you on the show. Just a quick soft announcement here. We have yet to formally announce this on the Tricorder Transmissions. We're going to have a little bit of a festive supplemental log coming up here later in the week. So Ian Adams is going to be our new co-chair for our Gold Key Comics series. We are very proud to have him on board the show.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, we are looking forward to it. And keep your ears peeled for our first Gold Key release coming in the next few weeks. So, guys, I have the burning question. Now that we've all been settling back in for about a week from our trip to Las Vegas, does anybody out there still have the con blues? Heather, still have the con blues?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that I was actually just in shock for a few days. And now I'm just super sad. So I'm pretty excited to be here talking to you guys because it helps at least a little bit, right?
For sure. It's nice to actually be able to hear all of your voices again after a week of being separated. Claire, you have any con blues left?
A little bit. I mean, I have to say this though, it is nice to be home. I miss all of you guys. I miss all the fun, but I like being home.
Mr. Smith, I'm sure, missed you too.
Yes, he did.
As you missed him. Mr. Adams, con blues?
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a friend of mine at the con that I think really summed it up perfectly. And she said that, like, it was okay for the con to be over, but I wish that we would have had a few more days just after the con in Vegas to continue hanging out.
I think Heather and I had a similar discussion.
Yeah.
I've been nursing my post-con hangover with bouts of smash burger here in New Jersey. I've eaten it twice here, and I rarely eat fast food when I'm home, but I've had the craving for smash burger twice in a week. Today, in fact, I had smash burger for lunch, so just kind of time traveled back a week.
Me too. We had it together in a way.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. I was telling Heather this morning, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to a smash burger. It's been a week since we were all together and had smash burger, so you know what? What the hell?
I did not have time to have it tonight, but I'll tell you what, I know exactly where the smash burger is located, the nearest one to my house.
Peanut butter shakes are coming.
my God. I have told at least 3 people about that darn milkshake. It was so good.
That was a good milkshake. For a chain burger joint, that was an exceptionally good milkshake. Heather, I know you got milkshakes too. What kind of shakes did you get?
I got the salted caramel one, and I think I got it twice there. And today I felt like getting an Oreo one, and it was not as good, but overall, still good. They're from Colorado, so I get the authentic smash burger here.
Not the cheap knockoff smash burger that you get in New Jersey.
What, is Smash Burger from Colorado?
Yeah, they started out here years ago, and they've really kind of just changed their menu, I think, because when I used to go, I didn't really care for it all that much. I'm kind of a Five Guys girl when I do eat that food, and that's from the East Coast.
Yeah, we have that here in Jersey.
Yeah, so, and I will say that the milkshakes at Five Guys are better than Smash Burger. But, you know, I don't eat that kind of food all that often, but today just felt like the right day. And it was really yummy, and my dogs got some fries, so they're happy.
Is there any fast food on the ship, Ian?
Well, no. We have a chef. God, makes so much food. And, like, all of it's good. I mean, today we had pulled pork for lunch that had been, like, smoked for 7 hours.
Wow.
Wow, I was envisioning like an Ernest Goes to Camp kind of thing.
Not quite, no. We have, like, a professional chef who's, lives on the ship and all that.
Has your chef ever accidentally been merged with another being in a transporter accident?
No. And tragically hasn't either been played by Jonathan Frakes either.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. That's yeah.
Hashtag deep cut.
Yeah. Hashtag Brandon Braga is so gracious whenever a fan inevitably asks him what he was thinking when he wrote that episode.
Speaking of Brandon Braga, did anybody else catch the 50 years of Star Trek last night?
No, I recorded it, but I haven't gotten to watch it yet.
Yeah, I have to say, I saw some of the reactions to it from people who were watching it earlier than me because they were in a different time zone. I am on the West Coast. And it was kind of lukewarm. And frankly, when I saw some of the Trek Corps' mentions that they were using, like, photoshopped fan pictures and stuff, I kind of was just like, you know what? I'm sure I know more about the 50 years of Star Trek than whoever put this together. So why bother, right? I mean...
Yeah, I tend to think you're probably right. I watched the whole thing, and there were some really nice interview bits with Nimoy on there that kind of made it worth watching for me. But the facts that they put out there were all well known by anyone who's even a middling Trek fan who does a little bit of research. But it was nice to see that you got 2 hours on the History Channel to commemorate the 50th anniversary, and overall it was a good watch.
Good to know that Star Trek got 10% of the coverage of, like, a Sasquatch sighting or an alien sort of alien historical whatever, ghost hunting. Hey, nice of the History Channel to take time out of its Sasquatch/ghost hunting days.
/ Hitler.
Yeah, yes. Hitler. Oh my God, yeah.
So many U-boats.
What did Hitler freaks do during those 2 hours? They must have been going through withdrawal, not getting to learn more about...
They had History Channel on demand.
Yeah, Nazi superweapon or something.
Yeah. And aliens in the occult.
Yeah, which, it all comes together.
Right.
So rolling back to the convention, we've got so much stuff to talk about. I don't know how we're going to cram it all in, but I guess why don't we start with some of the most obvious topics on the docket? So how about some favorite STLV memories? How about Claire? What are some of your favorite memories from this last convention?
Well, there are a lot of celebrities at Star Trek Las Vegas. That's kind of one of the draws. And I'm usually pretty gawky and weird around the celebrities, and I don't, like, go up to them or anything. But I did have a really cool celebrity moment this year, and it's going to stick with me. And in fact, I thought about it while I was watching Star Trek at home earlier over the weekend. I got to meet someone who was on the show Enterprise.
Nice.
and actually watch the episode of Enterprise with this person. That this person was, that this actor was in, and it was a really special moment for me.
I think there's some photographs to commemorate that, aren't there?
There are, yeah, and I have to say, I was kind of disappointed. This actor, he didn't look really that excited to be in these pictures. He looked kind of like he was so over it, really sick of being recognized, really sick of people going, "Oh my God, hey, you were on that episode of Enterprise, weren't you?" But he was really
still charging $40 for it.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of crazy, but he was really kind enough to watch this episode with us, and even in fact, there was like a special fan dinner experience. That, I don't know how often he lets fans come back to his hotel room and eat dinner with him, but I and a select group of other people got to have that experience. It was really special. Okay, the jig is up. We got to watch Awakenings with Enterprise Extra and get our picture taken, and it was fun.
I think all of us were there, weren't we?
We all were, yeah. Honestly, though, those room parties where we watched Star Trek were the best.
They
Absolutely the best.
Incredible.
Fully agree.
So we can skip the rest of this segment. Oh, man. Heather, favorite con memories from this past?
Man, there are a lot. I enjoyed doing all the cosplay that I did. I think that one of my favorite things that I took with me was our Pride group. I was really, really happy with how many people came out. I think we had like 40 people or something. I didn't count, so I don't know. But if you look at the pictures that are going around, there was quite a nice turnout, and I was really happy to see that. People in the community and people there to support us. It meant a lot, and we walked around for a little bit and took photos, and it was just a very good thing. And I have to agree with Claire. Our little group spent a lot of time just in rooms. We had our Tricorder 3rd birthday party in Andy Fark's room, and I really now that we've done that, I don't think I can go back to doing the con without those nights. It's what STLV is about for me, which we'll talk about more down the road. These friendships, and there's 6,000 people that were there this year, they said, and we have this small little family. Getting to spend time with everybody was really the highlight of the entire week, and I can't wait to do it again.
Definitely.
You kind of flipped my hand for me. Probably my favorite memory would be the 3rd anniversary Tricorder Transmissions party. It was a surreal experience for me to finally be in one room with all of our Tricorder Transmissions hosts in the same place. I mean, I don't know if everybody out there in listener land knows, but all of us are very spread out across the country. And, Craig, who I started the show with 3 years ago, lived in New Jersey with me. And when we first started recording the show, we recorded together in Craig's condo with our couple of microphones, watching Star Trek together. And it was kind of our humble beginnings. And he moved to Vegas a while back. And, Claire came aboard, Heather came aboard, and most recently Ian came aboard. But we're all kind of spread out. No one sees each other really. And just being together with you guys in the same room just for that short amount of time was really special for me. It was nice to be able to talk to everybody and take a picture of all of us together. And it was a very heartwarming moment for me. So that's one of probably my favorite memory from the convention. So before I get too emotional, let's pass it over to Ian.
Well, God, I mean, the room parties definitely were, they were a big change this year and really added a lot to the experience because it was just a chance for all of us to get to hang out. But we did have some great sort of hangout moments outside of the rooms too. I remember the eye bar and a very awkward game of, can I say the name of it?
Yeah.
All right. So, celebrity exclamation point.
Bang is not a bad word.
Yeah,
bang on.
Celebrity bang, everybody.
All right, celebrity bang, and a whole bunch of the actors who played characters that we were bracketing were standing there and learned of the game that we were playing while it was in session, and it was very awkward and hilarious. And I think Brian said that we're no longer allowed to create the bracket without him there.
It was the final four were, was it T'Pol, Esri, somebody else, and the Horta.
I'm trying to read it. Okay, I have it right in front of me, guys.
Nice. Heather has it.
I have it, and I'm trying to read Sue's handwriting, and I know that Jadzia is on here, Esri is on here,
Yeah.
Jayla, and I guess
Jayla was in the final
right.
four.
I guess
it was
that's the
T'Pol,
Horta.
Jayla, Esri, and the Horta.
Yeah,
I think Jayla won.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jayla won. It was Esri and Jayla, and then champion is Jayla.
Can I ask a controversial question?
Sure.
Do you think Esri would have made it as far in the bracket as she did if the actress playing her hadn't been standing literally over our shoulders while we were playing it?
Well, it was, let's see. I'm trying to go back through who she was up against the whole time.
She was up. I mean, the bracket was weird. There were some very unusual matchups, and also some really, maybe she would have, but
she was up against T'Pol at one point.
I remember trying to engineer it so that she would face off against acting Grand Nagus Brunt. and I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling kids choosing Horta over Brunt.
Scooby-Doo reference, nice.
The fact that both the Horta and Brunt made it more than one round is kind of amazing. I don't remember who Brunt was up against at one point, but I actually voted for Brunt over whoever because who was Brunt up against? Someone even worse.
Fine. Kess. I think Brunt and Kess.
Oh, that's right. That's how Brunt. I actually voted for Brunt in that because Kess is a 2.5-year-old. So
then it was
basically anybody wins against that.
That was a great rant, Claire.
Then it was Brunt and the Horta. Okay, so we play this game. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, Knack, to introducing Celebrity Bang to us. We did not play enough of it. We only played one game, and we will play more of it next year in the privacy of somebody's room.
Right. Maybe not with people who played the characters that we're going through standing right next to us.
And let's be clear to anyone listening, it really was the characters, not the actors, that we were ranking. So just in case it seems extra creepy, we were not actually talking about the people who happened to be standing nearby, just characters they had played.
So this was a super popular game at STLV 2015. I remember playing this almost every night.
Yep. I printed off 10 bracket sheets, and we just never did it except that one night. But I don't know. We were all doing other stuff, I guess, and I don't know, but we just have to make a point. It's something that's a lot of fun to do for our listeners, just to bring these little games, because it's a good icebreaker. You can get anybody involved in playing it. We've done it with Star Trek characters. We've done it with just sci-fi characters, and
So, you know what? I had another topic lined up to follow this first initial question, but another thing has popped into my head that I figure we can just throw out there really quick. But something that I remember talking about quite a bit at the convention was the kind of the different vibe that there was at the Masquerade bar than previous years. And I know a lot of you guys felt kind of the same way, and we couldn't really put our finger on it. Claire, could you figure out exactly what was different?
No, thinking back on it, I feel like there may have just been fewer people there, or that, I don't know. It was just sort of, the conversation didn't flow as easily in years past. I don't know how else to describe it. And I think that's one reason that we all ended up gravitating towards the watch parties, because it was just the group of people that we wanted to hang out with and that we were having fun with, and people came and went, and we were happy to have kind of people coming in and out. And I don't know, something about the Masquerade just seemed off.
Yeah, I agree. I had far fewer Trek conversations at Masquerade than in previous years. Ian, did you feel the same thing?
Well, so I've only had the one previous year to compare it against, but it seemed to me, I'd actually have to disagree and say that it seemed more crowded. There were a lot less times where we were able to actually get up on the platform. It seemed like most of the time we were spending kind of out in the, in the walkway over by the slot machines and stuff, because that was just all the space that we could get. I also didn't do as much drinking from the bar
I don't think
as last year.
Yeah, I bought one drink at the Masquerade bar. Now that I think about it, that's it.
Well, I bought 0. Heather, did you buy any drinks at the Masquerade this year?
I don't think so. Maybe one. No, I don't think I did. I think it was just a mix of the fact that there were so many new people, which is a good thing. I was really happy that despite all of the upset over the sold out tickets and a lot of regulars not getting them, I was happy to meet a lot of new people this year. It was really good. And so there were new people and we were spread out more. I think that just like we all went over to iBar a couple times, everybody really utilized the other bars. I think there's the Shutter Bar at the other end by the Smash Burger. People might have been there.
This year was the first year I'd ever been to the iBar, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah.
So
Really?
It never was even discussed as an option in previous years that I can recall. Maybe it was, and I just wasn't privy to that. But
no, and I don't remember who suggested we go over there this year.
I don't remember either.
But I know like Jesse for one had his meetup over there for like the newbie people, the same night that we were having kind of the unofficial meetup, which is really just any night go to Masquerade, you will meet people. But yeah, I know that Jesse had people go over there, and a lot of people do what we do, and they wind up in their own groups doing their own thing, going down to different events. There are people that are at those gold chair parties and captain's chair parties, so they're not there at the bar. I know for me, I really preferred seeking out that quiet time. Like I wanted to go down to the bar just to see everyone else. You guys tend to monopolize my time because we're all such close friends, and that's great. But I wanted to see other people too, so I just made sure to get down there. But overall, I was a little overstimulated. I was in pain a lot, and so I really preferred the quiet room time. So yeah, I think it was just new people and people spread out different places.
I have to agree with Claire. Sorry, I have to kind of agree with Claire. I think the room parties for me were definitely the highlight, because I think this was all the people that we had a lot of fun with the previous years, all in the same place, and kind of just the pizza, hanging out, watching Trek together, just shooting the breeze. I think was a really cool new addition to our STLV repertoire.
Well, it sort of fixed the one thing that we've all sort of joked about in previous years, which is the 1 week of the year that you watch the least Star Trek is the week that you're at a Star Trek convention, because they don't have it showing anywhere, and so which is kind of bizarre. So we fixed that and actually managed to watch some Star Trek while at a convention. I also think we probably, or at least for me, we talked the most about Star Trek while watching it, which makes sense. But yeah, the conversation, with some exceptions, the conversation at the Masquerade or the iBar didn't really feel like we were talking about Star Trek very much, which is okay. It's not like there's a rule that that's the only thing you can talk about. But I just remember in years past being a lot more kind of like deep, hardcore, goofy Star Trek discussion.
And I think a big part of it was the games. Like we played Celebrity Bang like 4 times, last 3 or 4 times. And the other game,
I didn't play any F, Marry, Kill this year, which is weird. But I wonder also if, at least for me, I've kind of exhausted the bizarre combinations for that game because I
we
always
got
want to trend towards the
crazy
weird.
last year.
Yeah.
The weird is the best, and at some point, when you're talking about the Doomsday Machine as one of the options, you can't really go anywhere else from that.
Yeah,
So
we got into ships and shuttlecrafts, other inanimate
planets.
objects,
Yeah,
planets.
planets. Like I don't even
Yeah.
know. Does it physically? How does
Guardian of
that work?
Forever.
I don't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I don't think we can talk about the exact conversation around that.
Giant
Probably
green
not.
hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that next year, we'll revisit it and see what it's like. But I think that these room parties might be the way to go. And we've talked so much about them that now we're getting requests from friends that want to come hang out with us too. So our room is only so big. But I think that maybe just, putting that idea out there for people who are also finding these little groups that they bond to, it's something to really try out. If you can get Star Trek set up on your TV like we did, or even just like bringing a game like Star Trek's Trivial Pursuit or something. Those things are really fun to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's move on to our next topic. And I think this is probably one of the really big topics that we need to cover, and that is the cosplay topic. And I guess we can talk through some of our own cosplays. I think most of us did some sort of cosplay, at least in some capacity. So I know, Heather, you had, I think, the most cosplay out of all of us. So let's start with you. I think you had, 4 or 5 cosplays?
I had 4 group cosplays, and then I got to escort Santa Gorn around, which is probably the most relaxing of everything I did. I kind of went all out, and so we did the Augment group, which I was really happy with because the first time that we did it 2 years ago, we all knew each other. We were people that had gone to the convention before, and I wouldn't say we're all like super close knit, but we all knew each other pretty well. And this year we had a lot of new people join the group. A lot of the old people didn't come or didn't do it. So we had several new people, and it was a lot of fun. I was super happy because, again, that's a really easy cosplay for everybody to make. They kept wearing it. They really seemed to enjoy being augments. And I know that Jay and his friends are going to do it again next year. So, the augment group just might continue to grow and be something that happens every year. And then we did the Pride cosplay event on Thursday. And again, it just blew me away because we had like 40 people there. I wish I had been a little better organized. I was already a little overwhelmed by Thursday. Again, I had some pain issues, not fibro, but something completely different. So I was hurting and I was just in a place. And so I was very fortunate. My friend Emily helped me out and got everybody together to do our picture. And I was able to say a few words. And then we walked around and did some more photos. But I definitely want to do some better organized events and maybe more than one. There was also a breakfast, I think, that my friend Patrick hosted. So stuff like that, I think, is really great to do. And then, oh gosh, so Friday was Cheerfleet. And it was a ton of fun. It was another big group. It grows every year. I have to say that I am so extremely proud of the diversity in that group. We have like every color of the rainbow in there, every spectrum. I'm just so proud of it. I don't know what else to say. And our big thing was that we got to go on stage with Chase Masterson and present the uniform to her. We had all gotten together to buy her a uniform with the pom-poms because she's been so supportive of Cheerfleet. We had no idea that we were gonna get to like come out in front of her and do a cheer for her. So that was really, really awesome. I was exhausted by Saturday, so I think I was just pretty chill for a while. And then I threw on my Anovos TOS dress and escorted Santa Gorn around. And then Sunday we did I like to call it Hillbilly Trek. Technically, it's Redneck Trek. That is Brian Knack's idea. it was obscure and weird, and people looked at us funny, but it was so much fun. And it was just a bunch of us that are close. And our friend Frankie over in the UK brought her horse head. So we randomly found her, and she wore the horse head in several of the photo ops we did and ran around with us. So it was a lot of fun. And I think that next year I will probably do a bit less cosplay, or I certainly won't be the spearheading all of those groups. I really liked that very casual cosplay with a couple friends, so I might do that again. But it was pretty exhausting, but very rewarding.
So, Ian, I know you didn't do any cosplay yourself, but do you have any favorite cosplays that you saw at your time during the con?
Oh, there were a few, yeah. There was the guy who was running around as Christopher Pike. I know Claire remembers the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Running is not the right word for it, though.
Yeah, right. He was scootering around.
Yeah.
And just beeping yes or no. Once for yes, twice for no. I forget how it was. And that was really great. And the makeup that he had was great. But the chair itself, the Christopher Pike yes no chair, was just that was phenomenal. There was an M113 creature, the salt vampire, that I thought was really good. Oh, and the paper mache Baylock.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, it was big.
Was that Jeff's Baylock? Or was that different?
I don't know who it was, because I only saw it when they were on stage. It was during the panel when they had all of the Trek alien actors.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. Dang it.
I saw some pictures of it.
I'll have to go look through some albums, because I haven't even run across it yet, and that's like one of my favorite things, so I'm gonna have to find it.
Did any of you guys see that Tholian cosplay?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Heather and I were in the elevator with those people like the day before they did it, and we didn't know what it was. I just remember seeing a bunch of like orange things, and then the next day I realized, oh, that was the Tholian.
And then they gave it away. Like, they posted in the Facebook group that they didn't want to take it with them, so they were just giving it away.
And you guys could have had a Tholian costume to take home.
God, I totally missed an opportunity there.
You think you could fit that in your quarters on the ship, Ian?
Oh, easily.
Nice. So, Claire, I know you scaled back on your cosplays this year, but that didn't stop you from creating a brand new cosplay. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I just made myself an original series era Admiral's tunic. You know, you never see any women in command or admiralty roles, so I thought I would make one. And I also made the General Order 7 red folder thing saying not to go to Talos 4, so I carried that around, and it was pretty fun. I did run into the Christopher Pike guy and showed it to him, and he was really pleased with that, so that was cool. My philosophy for cosplay has always been that it's got to be something I want to wear all day once I put it on in the morning. So I like stuff that's comfortable, and like, I'm not going to be a Tholian, I'll just say right now. Someone who is a Tholian, more power to him, but I'll never be that kind of cosplayer because I'm just too lazy, and it would seem burdensome, and then it's not fun for me anymore. So, but yeah, it was pretty low key. I was sewing that darn Admiral's tunic at 12:30 at night, the day before I was supposed to be up at 5 in the morning and flying to Las Vegas. So that I could have done a little differently. I totally underestimated the amount of time it would take me to sew it because I'm slow at sewing, but in the end it got finished, so that was good.
Nice.
And I just want to shout out, there were a couple of people who were dressed as T'Pring this year, and they were all really amazing, but there was one gal in particular, I don't know who she was, so I can't really specifically say a good shout out, but I think she was French or French Canadian. She definitely had a French accent. She was an amazing T'Pring. There you go.
Very cool. So how about, are there any other cosplays that you saw while you were there that you were really impressed with?
I hate to say no. That's not to say I wasn't impressed. I mean, there were a lot of really amazing, you know, everyone who does any sort of cosplay, you know, they're being creative and they're doing something cool. But yeah, like I said, the T'Prings and a couple of T'Pows, and they were like walking around together. Those stood out in my mind. there are always people who are dressed as Borg and everything. Although I have to say, sometimes they're a little over the top. Can I say that? It's like it goes. I think the Borg Queen would say, actually, it's not very efficient to have that much stuff on a Borg. At some point, it becomes anti-Borg ethos to be like a walking hardware store. But anyway, maybe you should cut that part in case anyone's listening. It's not anybody we know. It's not anybody we know.
I know. I have one. I have one, which I didn't get to actually see her in it. I just saw pictures. But our friend Amber, who did Redneck Trek with us, was an Idic.
That was awesome.
And yeah, I don't know what I was doing Saturday morning that I completely missed the I guess I was sleeping, guys. I think the costume parade was at like 8:30.
Yeah, which is the worst timing ever.
Yeah, I was really, side note, I actually slept in most days. I did not get up at 5 or 7 a.m. every morning, despite going to bed earlier even. So I missed it, and I didn't know she was doing it. So when I saw the pictures in the days afterward, I was like, oh my gosh, that is the most awesome thing ever. So props there to Amber. I think your cosplay is awesome, and I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that.
That was pretty cool to see. I really enjoyed that. And I think she really got a lot of attention and praise at the costume contest with that as well.
Well deserved.
Extremely. I forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of this character, and I know someone's going to chime in with this, and I'm going to feel silly that I forgot it, but there was a guy that was playing the tar monster that killed Tar.
Armis.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. I'm such an idiot. Why couldn't I remember that? But I remember walking past him and thinking, that's got to be the hottest costume to wear. I mean, I know how hot I was. And I was looking at that guy going, God, that's like rubber latex wrapped all around him. And he's got I don't know how he was breathing out of that.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know who it was, but speaking of being hot in your costume, Jeff, what was your cosplay?
Oh, good Lord. So yeah. So I decided after a lot of pressure from some people that I won't name, that I would finally give in and do some sort of cosplay. And I'd had a Gorn mask laying around that I had bought for Halloween a couple of years ago, and it's been sitting in my closet forever, and I haven't used it for anything. So I was trying to figure out a way.
Sure, for Halloween.
I did, believe it or not. And I knew there were other people doing Gorns there, and I kind of didn't want to do the same thing. So I was trying to figure out what I could do with that Gorn mask. And I don't know when it came to me, but I decided that I would get a Santa suit and throw the Gorn mask on with a Santa hat and kind of just go out and walk around as Santa Gorn. And I just kind of a thrown together at the last minute sort of thing, but it turned out much better than I really could have ever imagined that it would have. I met so many really incredible people while I was doing it, and some of the highlights are probably the Akutas stopping me in the hallway and doing a little miniature photo shoot with me, and the Mark Cushman's folks at his table doing a little photo shoot, kind of stashing one of their books in my bag. Little kids walking up and giving me hugs kind of randomly, and it was kind of an emotional experience. Having never done any sort of cosplay before, I think that I finally get it. I finally understand what you guys experience when you do these things, and there were some very emotional moments for me. There were a lot of laughs, a lot of great pictures that have been showing up on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Shatner tweeted a picture of me. I don't know where he got it from. It wasn't a retweet. It was an actual tweet that he sent out. Somehow I made it onto some kind of a CNET list of costumes. And thankfully, Heather, you walked around with me on the last day so that I could actually get some pictures of myself, because I was unable to take pictures of myself while I was in costume. But it was nice to have some of the pictures of myself sitting on the captain's chair, in the transporter, and in the Borg regeneration chamber. I don't think we did anything by the Guardian of Forever.
No, I don't think we did.
We probably should have, but...
next year.
Yeah, next year. I got to see Bobby Clark while I was in costume. that was a fun conversation because I didn't speak while I was I kind of just gestured and nodded while I was in costume. I don't think I spoke to anybody at all, but it was really, really, really fun. And I've had a couple of people ask me if I was going to bring it back next year. And maybe I'll do it. I did actually discard the Santa suit. It was not really a Santa suit that was meant to be worn multiple times, and by the end of the convention it was kind of frayed and starting to fall apart. So I figured I'd just leave it there in Las Vegas, so maybe the housekeeper is going to show up in a Santa suit.
I have to chime in here because I think it really speaks volumes of what cosplay can become to a person. And for someone who had never done anything to kind of spur of the moment, put this together, and which I don't think you mentioned that you had the buttons to hand out.
Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't mention that.
And that was pretty neat. So when people came up to you, they, asked for your picture, did the picture, and then you gave them the little Santa Gorn button, which was just such a nice touch. Like, I was so blown away by Jeff here because it was just so thoughtful. Like, it was just such a thoughtful thing to do. And when I got to walk around with Santa Gorn, I got to experience myself seeing some of that fun magic and like watching the little kids. It was the most adorable thing because they all wanted it. They weren't afraid. Like, they all wanted to come up and see Santa Gorn. So many people smiled while Santa Gorn was walking by. It was just, even for just a bystander, it was such a cool experience. And I've seen numerous people commenting about it, pictures popping up everywhere. So it just blows my mind. And it wasn't, I mean, you didn't even make it, it was a Santa suit and the mask and a bag and some buttons. So you don't have to be intimidated by the thought of making some giant cosplay. Just like with the augments, like, you can throw something together. And I feel like everyone I know who has not done cosplay and then tries it out for the first time never goes back.
No.
Even if it's just something for one day, the next year, they still do it.
And the great thing about Star Trek is that you have so many things to choose from that, frankly, you could wear jeans and a t-shirt and be in cosplay. And I know that sounds like, no, you're not. Maybe you're playing Sarah Silverman's character from that episode of Voyager. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can be subtle. It's kind of a bummer sometimes if not a lot of people get a really deep cut cosplay that you're proud of, because I've been there. It's like, But what's cool is, like, there's a level of skill and ability for anybody in Star Trek. It's you can go all out and be a Tholian or an Idic, or you can just be the plexiglass guy in
Dr.
Star
Nichols.
Trek 4, and it totally works. Like, you can do something that's comfortable or that's easy or that's really complicated and really skilled, but you're going to make someone's day regardless of what you're wearing, because at least one person will get it and be excited about it.
Or they just might say, I don't know what you are, but I want to take a photo, like our redneck. Yeah. I mean, some people were like, oh, they get it. Some people don't. I had like the whiskey bottle I found on Etsy, which I paid like $40 for, and I got it. And I opened the box and it was just like an ashtray came out. I mean, it was so disgusting. It smelled so bad. And I tried forever to get the smoke smell out, and I couldn't. But like, it was a great $40 that I spent. I'm very happy with it because it really brought it together. But I mean, I didn't make anything. Well, I made my hat. I got a little cowboy hat and put a bunch of pins on it. But I safety pinned them. It wasn't like a big ordeal. There's such a spectrum of things that you can do. So I just really encourage, if you have an interest, to just try something, because I think you'll be happy in the end.
I agree, and I will confess that my Santa suit was $14.99 on Amazon. I bought a pair of military grade white gloves, and I wrapped a white pillowcase around my neck so that you couldn't see my neck under the Gorn mask, and that was pretty much it. And it worked out. That just goes to show you, I mean, you guys have said it already, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to be an expert seamstress to create something. And that was my hang up for the last couple of years is like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to create anything. I'm not really great at sewing. I'm not that imaginative with that kind of thing. But, when push came to shove and I was like, let me just figure something out, it worked out. And I don't think there's going to be another con that I don't do at least some kind of cosplay.
Yay.
Awesome.
If anybody can figure out how to cosplay an ugly bag of mostly water, can you tell me? Because I've wanted to do that for years. I have no idea how to do it and have it not just literally be me wearing like a water bed. But I want to cosplay an ugly bag of mostly water, like really bad. Really
isn't
bad.
that what we're all cosplaying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's our everyday cosplay. But no, if there's some way to just like make that apparent as a costume, let me in on the secret.
There were a couple pair cosplays,
Like the fruit?
PAIR, not
Oh.
not. I see. I knew you were going there.
Oh, Jeff.
Like pairs of people who were cosplaying in a theme. That were really good. There was, I don't know if you saw the Dr. Chaotica and Queen Arachnia
Yes.
cosplayers.
Hmm.
They were great.
Oh, I
And
saw
then
there was a Kai Wynn and a Kai Opaka walking around
Oh,
together.
yeah.
And the both of the women really looked like the actresses, and whoever, I don't know if they made their costumes or if they had them made for them, they were like screen quality, really amazing costumes, very well made.
Yeah, I only saw them in passing, just in the hallway coming out of Quarks, and it stopped me in my tracks. They were so good. I was just like standing there staring, like, wow, did you see that? Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did you guys catch Rock from What Are Little Girls Made Of? I was really impressed by him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That robe was awesome, and the face paint. I mean, and he was also a tall, big, menacing guy, so he was perfect for that. I told him how awesome he was, and it was. I love that episode, so that was really.
And he tried to throw you off a cliff. And then there were another pair, my friends Julianne Dowell and Allison Mingle.
Oh yeah.
Cosplayed as Lursa and Baitor.
Nice.
Yes.
Which they'd been working on their costumes all year, and they came out great. And it was all for, as far as I can tell, for the moment of karaoke, which was incredible. They got up on stage and sang "You Light Up My Life," which Allison had translated into Klingon, and they sang in Klingon, and it was beautiful.
There are videos of it, I think, in the group.
They were amazing. And you know what really sold that for me, just as they were walking around, is their voices. Yeah. I really felt like I was in the presence of Lursa and Baitor, which is awesome. And considering how many people dress as Klingons, really special, because they didn't just feel like people dressed as Klingons. They really felt like Lursa and Baitor to me. And so they did a fantastic job. Yeah,
it was so good.
Absolutely. So another kind of tangential topic related to cosplay that was kind of a hot button issue on the unofficial Facebook group immediately after the convention. I was going to throw this out there to you guys is there seems to be some question in some people's minds about what kind of cosplay is acceptable at the Star Trek convention. More about cosplay that's not related to Star Trek being done at a Star Trek convention. There's a small contingent of people who seem to think that's not acceptable. I was going to throw it out there. I'm sure we're pretty much all on the same page with this. Ian, how do you feel about non-Star Trek cosplay at a Star Trek convention?
I didn't really mind it that much. I remember there was one guy that was he had a Darth Vader mask, and he'd been like assimilated by the Borg, and I thought that was kind of funny and clever. I didn't really see a whole lot of it though, and I'm not sure I would have minded, because a lot of the stuff that was not Star Trek was still kind of crossed over into Star Trek. Like there was the one woman who was what was her name? Kaylee from Firefly.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But wearing the Enterprise jumpsuit, as well. And I thought that was cool. So, I think I'm okay with it.
Okay. Heather, what do you think about non-Star Trek cosplay?
I think people can do whatever they want. Who does it hurt? It doesn't hurt me. It was our friend Andrew, who is that amazing Doctor Who.
He was great.
Oh, yeah.
He really looks like
Fantastic.
Tom Baker.
He's amazing, and apparently, he's the one that got some comments and some looks, and I am really, really disappointed with the people who did that. Like, sorry to be the mean teacher here or whatever, but that's not the spirit of Star Trek. There's room for everybody, and no, it may not be San Diego Comic-Con, but in the end, who does it hurt? We're all there to have fun. We're there to get away from life, and I have no problem with it. So the more the merrier. I'm happy to see it all.
I agree with you. And the funny thing about the Doctor Who that kind of struck me is that there was a comic book crossover with Doctor Who and Star Trek. So I mean, sure, it's a stretch and it's non-canon, but I don't think it's completely out of bounds. I mean, I think
I would argue that Doctor Who technically is appropriate cosplay for anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Since Doctor Who is constantly visiting like other dimensions and other things, who's to say he wasn't just Doctor Who at a Star Trek convention? Like,
Hey,
you know what I mean? Doesn't Doctor Who sort of fit anywhere?
I was gonna say that last year and the year before, 2014 and 2015, I saw significantly larger amounts of non-Star Trek cosplay at the con than I did this year. I know the Justice League was there. We had some Marvel people. We had some Jedi people dressed up as Jedi. I think I saw a Stormtrooper at some point.
Yeah.
There were Minions, I think.
there were some this year.
Yeah,
Were they Star Trek Minions? I didn't see Minions this year.
They were in the costume contest. A lot of those are crossovers. Like there was a Disney Star Trek, like Disney Princesses Star Trek crossover.
I saw Princess Jayla this year. I think.
That was
like Frozen Jayla.
Mindy, I think. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really neat. I think the crossover stuff is fun, but in the end, like we're there to have fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Like it does not hurt you in any way for someone else to come as the Pope. I don't know.
Ooh, that's a good
Oh my
Pope
God, I am
Gorn.
cosplaying as the Pope, man. I'm doing
Hashtag
it.
deep cut.
We've had the Spanish Inquisition before. They came. There was a Spanish Inquisition cosplay.
Well, that works because nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition at a Star Trek
You beat me to
convention.
it.
Exactly. But we are supposed to be one of the most accepting communities out there. So I mean that's it right there.
Yeah.
And I don't get and I don't support why other people can't just let it go and say, does it affect you in any way? No. So let people do what they want.
I agree. I'm totally doing Pope Gorn next year.
Yeah.
Claire, any thoughts?
Well, first off, Ian, I just want to say, Ian, thank you so much for reminding me about the Kaylee cosplay, because that, of all the costumes I saw the whole time, that's probably the one that I got the most excited about and was the most enthusiastic about when I saw someone wearing it, because it was so perfect. And again, the woman who was doing it, she really looked like Jewel State. Mm-hmm. It was just this like perfect, it just totally worked for me.
I don't know how you could look at it and not be delighted.
Exactly. It was so happy. It was really great. And yeah, she was playing as Trip's, ancestor or progeny or whatever, the child of Kaylee and Charles Tucker Tripp III. Yeah, I thought it absolutely worked. Yeah, I agree with Heather that it harms no one. It doesn't get in the way of enjoying the Star Trek convention. If some people are dressed as non-Star Trek cosplay characters. If I had a bunch of other costumes of other genres in my closet, I probably would not bring them to a Star Trek convention. Not because I think it's wrong to do so, but because, I don't know, I would just... Well, frankly, I get kind of exhausted wearing lots of cosplay all weekend long. Like, Heather, I don't know how you do it. And Jeff also, you this year going back to your room and putting a costume on for an hour or two and then changing back. I am just way too lazy to do that. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't do it because, again, I get kind of overwhelmed by cosplay sort of easily in terms of me wearing it myself. But, yeah, it doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, the only thing that I might be kind of grumpy about is if there were like 400 stormtroopers or some
Yeah.
huge number where it was like people trying to kind of like, and it's like spoil the Star Trek party. And again, it would have to be a really specific scenario and like a whole bunch of people, like way more people than I've ever seen put together wearing non-Star Trek stuff. And again, it wouldn't bother me that they enjoyed Star Wars, but it would feel a little bit like a rivalry that went from being a fun rivalry to actually kind of mean-spirited. That's the only thing that would bother me, and I've never seen that or anything remotely close to it. So
yeah, I really wouldn't, we don't want any kind of offensive cosplay. And above and beyond, there are Star Wars people, but just,
which I don't mind. Yeah.
No, and we've had like I think the Chewbacca person that lives in Vegas, they've shown up plenty of years before. And we had an R2D2 there this year. I think I adore R2D2. So and R2 liked me too. So it was so much fun. So yeah, I just think, generally anything that's like mocking Star Trek fans, anything like that, definitely just don't do that, because that's rude. Right. I just wanted to quick shout out our Kaylee friend is Kareen. So hi, Kareen.
Yeah, your costume was amazing, and I love it.
So good. Yeah, I think you and Claire definitely hit the nail on the head there. That it's intent that really matters with that kind of thing, and if there's any sort of malice behind that, then yeah, I think that would be the line that it would cross that I would have a problem with.
Oh, and I saw someone dressed in a Galaxy Quest uniform this year, and
Christine,
that was amazing. Also, that was so subtle and perfect, and just that I meant to go up to that woman. I don't know her, but I meant to go up to her and say something, but I never did. But
yeah, that was Christine Rideout at Starfleet Mom on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that was Starfleet. Oh, yep. I do know her on Twitter. Oh, well, okay, that was a great costume as well.
I was really kind of surprised to see that there were a small contingent of people who seemed to have an issue with non-Star Trek cosplay. I didn't think that would really ever be something that people would be upset about. So I'm glad that we're all in agreement that it's really not a big deal to any of us, and I really don't understand why it would be much of a big deal to anybody else. But so more convention questions. I don't know how many panels all of us attended. I don't know what panels we attended, but there were some really special ones because this was the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, and we had some really different new guests that we haven't seen at prior conventions. I know, Claire, you're a big panel person. What was your favorite panel that you attended?
Let me put a little explanatory note on that. I would say I'm a big production panel person. I don't get super excited about the actors. Not that I don't dislike going to the actor panels, but I get most excited about the production side for whatever reason. I think this year would have to definitely be the panel that Mike and Denise Okuda did for the new edition of the Star Trek Encyclopedia. I was asked to cover that panel for TrekCore, so I had to go to it. Had in quotation marks. I would have attended that one anyway, but I paid special attention during this panel because I was taking notes and things. But it was a really... I mean, I love the Okudas. That's probably kind of weird to say about people you don't know very well, but they just seem like the nicest people. And their real enthusiasm for Star Trek is so apparent anytime they are on a panel. And you could tell that this was a labor of love for the two of them, as well as a lot of work. I mean, no doubt about it. They worked really hard on this thing, but they seem very pleased with the results. And I also have to say, the questions were all really good. And that's the one thing about panels that I always cringe at are bad audience questions. Maybe that's one reason why I like the production panels more, because I feel like they have fewer opportunities for quote unquote bad audience questions, because you're kind of asking the right people the really obscure questions in those cases. But yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot.
What's your favorite audience question?
Mine? My favorite audience question is from season 3. It's the 14th episode. But yeah, seriously, what's your favorite X should just sort of be excluded from now on from the audience question pool.
But if you're going to ask a super obscure question about why a character did a certain thing in a certain episode in a certain season of a certain series, ask it of the writers, not the actor who played the character. Please. The end.
Yeah. And that on that subject and on that panel, I asked was about how Memory Alpha may or may not have played a role in the making of the new edition of the encyclopedia, because that's something that had emerged since the last edition, and it was, you know, it kind of filled the void of, well, we don't have new editions of this coming out all the time, and so I was just really curious about that, and
thank you for that. By the way, your question and the answer that it spawned made it into the article that Trekcore posted. So thank you for that, Ian.
Oh, cool. And just like there were a lot of really, really good questions, I thought, in that panel.
So favorite panel, Ian?
My favorite panel, boy, I don't know. There were a few good ones. I did really enjoy the Trimbles.
That was a good one.
And I even got to meet them later, and they're just like the nicest people. They're so funny. They're just hilarious. One of the things that I've always been fascinated with, probably because my dad was, you know, like a first generation Trekker, was the whole kind of early days of Star Trek fandom, and getting to hear from people who not only were a part of that, but were like a really big and important part of that, was a real treat for me.
You know, one of the panels that I thought was really exceptional, and this really displays the magic that can happen at a Star Trek convention. It was kind of obscure. There was this one guy that was on one episode of Enterprise and got to do an entire panel.
Oh, yeah,
his
that
appearance.
guy.
Did you see that one?
Right.
I did.
Yeah,
the one who was cosplaying as Steve Jobs.
Yeah, no, that's the guy.
That guy.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, if he can do a
Was it
panel,
like John.
yeah, if he can do a panel about that, then I think any of us could do a panel.
Yeah.
That was really exceptional. Maybe we could track that guy down.
And I got to say, the questions from the audience in that one were really, really good. Just hardcore,
absolutely.
deep cut questions.
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed that he didn't also work on a Voyager or Next Generation or, you know, any of the other ones.
So I didn't get to ask him if he would eat a knob at night, but...
I told him afterwards that I was supposed to ask him that and that I chickened out. And
it's okay. There's always next year. Heather, any favorite panels that you attended?
So this year, I think I got maybe an hour's worth of all of the panels together. So I basically got bits and pieces of maybe 3 panels. The one with the Trimbles, I saw part of that. I sat on the mission log one for a little bit. And above and beyond, I've been a huge fan of the Women in Star Trek panels that are run by a lot of really amazing women that I'm really happy to call friends. And this year, they were on the main stage. It was the first year that they got to be on the main Nimoy stage. So walking in and seeing that and seeing the audience and seeing Beto Trimble and Kate Mulgrew on stage with them was just really awesome. I was really, really happy for them and just really proud to see a panel about women, about feminism on that main stage. We need more of that.
What I would like to see are panels focused on how Star Trek has explored subjects like gender and gender identity, sexuality, disabilities, and other sociological issues that are still found in our world today. There's such a plethora of podcasts out there doing exactly that, and I think featuring those types of discussions are far more valuable than some of the repeat panels creation brings back every year.
And I'm trying to think, I think it was like the ladies of DS9 where we had Terry Farrell. I'm trying to think who was on the panel. I don't think I was in the panel for the first part. Did anybody go to that? Because I'm trying to remember who else was on that besides Terry Farrell. It was like Terry Farrell, Nicole DeBear, and was it Nana, I think? And they were basically they were talking about Jadzia Dax's sexuality, and Terry said that she would consider Jadzia Dax a pansexual, and as myself being a pansexual, that really effing rocked. Having somebody like that say something on a big stage like that to a big audience was pretty amazing. So those things stood out for me personally.
Another obvious question, and this I don't like to go into the negative, but Least favorite convention moment? I've heard a lot of different spins on this in the Facebook group over the last few days. People, talking about various things at this convention since it was sold out and there were many, many more people and there was an extra day added. What was something that you would change about the convention if you could, Claire?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't start with me because I have to think about that. Least favorite convention moment. Gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like even a kind of a crappy Star Trek convention moment is honestly like not that bad, at least in terms of the things I saw and experienced and did. I mean, you're still at a Star Trek convention, so it's not that bad, right? I mean, yeah, there are things I would have liked to have changed, or, maybe it would have been cool if someone did something different or didn't do something, or there were more of something or less of something or whatever. But I mean, I don't remember there being a moment for me anyway where I was like, wow, I am really unhappy right now. So I can't really say that there was one.
Very cool. Heather, anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like being negative about it. I think that there are plenty of things that could be improved, and I think we'll bring that up in the group at some point because I would like to touch base with Creation. I sent them an email a couple of years ago. Well, basically, I sent them a 4-page letter with a lot of recommendations that they could make. And I would encourage anybody that is going to send in their recommendations to please do it politely. Don't send it as a rant because that's not going to get you anywhere. One of those things was just talking about having a bar down at karaoke because there didn't used to be a bar. And now, now everybody's upset that it's a cash bar. Well, but at least you have a bar right now, okay?
Right.
So, I think that, they've upgraded the big screens, they've upgraded the audio equipment. They've done a lot. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I sent them these suggestions and they listened to them and did a bunch of them, because I'm sure plenty of people sent the same suggestions, but they do listen to us. So I think I'd like to get together with the group and make up a list of things that can be improved. We'll see what happens with the 5-day thing. It's hard for me to complain about having an extra day with my friends. I know that for me, for a lot of people, like it didn't really feel like it was worth having the extra day. I think Wednesday we didn't really start until late in the day.
Yep.
And there wasn't a whole lot going on. And then I think Sunday was kind of a quiet day too. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the people that they're having there and how they arrange the panels. There's so much more to bring to these stages besides just these actors and the few things they talk about. I think that having the addition of that Roddenberry stage was so awesome. The stuff they did on that stage was very appealing and was a lot more fun than most of the stuff they do in the others. For me,
You know what? That area in front of it, granted, it was small. It was almost always full.
yeah.
So there was a lot of interest in that. And it wasn't just people who were buying food and sitting there eating it and just happening to be in front of a stage, because there were a lot of other tables for people to do that were away from the stage.
Yep.
that people could eat at. So there was a really good turnout for that, just consistently.
Yeah, they did the match game, which I saw one of those, and that was fun. They just had a lot of variety there that made it really unique and interesting and fun. And I think that Creation needs to take note and do some more of that. As I said before, more things like the Women in Trek panel. I think that bringing that content to those other stages would be really valuable. So, we'll see. They said that next year is going to be 5 days too. I know that for me, I need to just take it a little easier with the cosplay and everything to really enjoy those 5 days. But I don't know, like overall, I didn't feel like it was too many people, even though it was sold out and had this huge attendance. I didn't feel like it was overrun any more so than when like the panels spill out. It would be great if they could move to a place that was just a little better set up. I know there were some issues with people with disabilities. There's no handicap section. They really don't pay a whole lot of attention to making that a better experience for people. So there are a lot of things that we could talk about that we can recommend, and I'll bring that up in the group at some point. But, overall, I still walked away having, the experience of a lifetime. Every year gets better and better for me. So I have a hard time complaining when it's the place that I can be myself more than anywhere else in the universe. So I can't say bad things.
Can you follow that up, Ian?
The only bad part about the con for me was when it ended and when I had to leave. But I that Roddenberry stage I totally agree with Heather. It was an incredibly great addition. Changed kind of the whole dynamic of the con, I think, because it made it so that I think I spent a lot less time out at bars and stuff like that. I was actually a lot more engaged with the convention itself because maybe if there was panels in the main or secondary theater that I wasn't quite into, well, there would probably still be something over there that so it just kept me a lot more engaged. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was they had the Wikia Memory Alpha trivia there, which if I could say, there was a really great story that came out of it, resulting in something that I'm holding in my hand right now. So I'd been trying throughout the week to win, basically, on the trivia, because one of the prizes that they had was that Enterprise watch. The one that's like the watch face is the saucer of the 1701.
Mm-hmm.
The competition was pretty fierce. I got up on... It was Wednesday or Thursday. I got into the final round where you're up on stage and everything. And then I, got second place on that. And then there was another day where I wasn't able to, I got pretty close, but didn't quite get through. And then the last day I had been trying, I was in the first two rounds of trivia and, got pretty close, but I was like, I didn't quite advance to the final round. Because you get 3 opportunities throughout the day to do that. And so then it was just the last time, and it was at the schedule was said 4:15. It was going to be round 3, and they started it at 4. And I got there, with time to spare for 4:15, but they were already underway, so I'd lost my opportunity to go in there. But, all of the trivia people, I mean, they're all friendly and everything, just like you would expect. And there was one guy, and I wish I could remember his name. I mean, I can remember his face, but who was, one of the competitors, and he beat me out for first place in one of the rounds earlier in that day. And it was after the 5-year mission show when we were all standing out in the rotunda, and he, I hear my name, hey, Ian, and he runs up to me and he's like, I've been looking for you. He had won first prize, and he reaches into his bag and he pulls out the watch. That was the first prize thing. He was like, I know that you were really trying hard to get this. Here you go.
Aww.
And I was like, oh my God, that is we've, only talked maybe a total of an hour, this whole week. And you're going out of your way for this. And it was just a really heartfelt and touching moment. And that really kind of made my con.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, some of that con magic.
Yeah.
So final question of the night, and Heather's already kind of covered her opinion on this. I kind of wanted to throw this out there too, because another thing I saw in the Facebook group quite a bit. Is 5 days too long? Ian, what do you think? Is 5 days too long for you for a convention?
Yes and no. So I feel like kind of like what I said at the beginning of the show, which is that the amount of time that we got to spend together was right, but maybe the convention itself was a little too long.
Yeah.
Because I definitely, by the time the weekend was coming around, I was starting to get a little fatigued just from the con events themselves, but I was still energized by hanging out with friends and everything. And I wanted to do that part more, and then I kept feeling, well, there's still stuff going on at the con. Oh, there's this panel I want to go see. Stuff like that kept sort of pulling me away. Like that last night, the Rat Pack, and everyone was like, oh, no, I don't want to go see the Rat Pack. For me, it's one of my favorite things about the con. I enjoyed the heck out of it last year, and I really wanted to go see it. So, I went down, but it was it was kind of the con itself tearing me away from my friends in that moment, which was kind of counterproductive.
Claire, 5 days too long?
I agree with Ian in that the amount of time spent with friends was not too long. Maybe 5 days of the convention itself is too long. But what I think was really too long for me was just that amount of time in that air-conditioned, smoky, artificial casino air environment. If it was 5 convention days where like stepping outside for more than a minute or two was feasible and the air wasn't so circulated and processed and dry and whatever, I think that would have helped me sort of not be so fatigued. Because honestly, I had a scratchy voice for 3 or 4 days after I came back. A coworker of mine actually asked me if I lost my voice because I was screaming too much at the convention, and I was like for this like a Beatles girl or something, I don't know. And I said, no, I didn't do any screaming. This is just, I'm guessing, the cigarette smoke and the artificial air and everything. That is one of the things that wore me down, I think, more than anything, is that just sort of that hermetically sealed, self-contained casino air, I guess. So yeah, I definitely was ready to be in a normal atmosphere, like air atmosphere, after a few days. So on the one hand, I kind of like the fact that the 5th day allowed the convention to be a little less busy throughout all of it. I think that might be one reason that we all got to sleep in better, is because they didn't start stuff at 8 a.m. every day. And so I do like that a lot, because I am not a morning person. But it's like 4.5 days. They had 4.5 days worth of content as opposed to 5. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Heather, anything to add on 5 days?
We all say we can't complain because we love it so much. Yeah, ultimately, I think it really just comes down to the fact that I would rather go, like, I'm thinking about next year and what I want to do. And I think that I might actually, depending on when all of my friends come, I might go in on like Monday and then leave early the next Monday morning. Cause like that Monday afternoon, Claire and I were just like, let's get out of here. And we've done that for the last 2 years. We're like, let's just go to the airport. Let's get away from the smoke, away from the people, which we love the people. But I, it's a topic that I want to explore some more down the road in some of our podcasts, is talking about the social aspect of the convention. I've read some things that have affected me in a way, talking about how, certain groups have cliques and people have difficult times integrating into those cliques, or cliques, however you want to say it. There's just a lot going on. And for a lot of us who are introverts, we get overwhelmed really quickly. And I really want to talk about just the dynamic in general, because, on this podcast, we largely have people within our Star Trek family that are kind of like the core people that return. And we're going to do what we can to bring in some of the people that we've met, some of our listeners. We'll bring back our vendors and whatnot. For me, this experience is no longer about the convention itself. It's not about the guests. It's not about the panels for the most part. It's about my Star Trek family. And among us, we've got a group of like 10 to 20 of us. And our group changes. Like, our group changes every year. There are core people. There are new people that get brought in. There are people that don't come every year. So it's a fluid group, but in the end, we have this small, tight family. And then outside of that, there are other people that I'm very close to that I still consider my Star Trek family. And then outside of that, the circles get bigger and bigger. But in the end, there are, 6,000 people at this convention. We can't know everybody. And so even though I talk about this convention being a family experience for me, it's not a family experience for anyone. So for everyone. So I really just want to explore the overall dynamic, which I'm still processing and still thinking about a lot of this. But the bottom line is that I won't have any problem coming and staying for a week and hanging out with my friends. No matter what I do, there's still not enough time to see all the people that I want to see. And so I will happily go and stay there for a week if that means that I get to spend the quality time with my little close-knit family and then quality time with people who are friends and acquaintances that I just never get enough time for. It's impossible to see everybody. There are people who I did not even see that I know and wanted to see, and I just never even saw them. Like, how does that happen, right? Right? So for me, I'm happy to come and spend the time. I think for the convention itself, for it to really be a 5-day convention, they need to add a lot more content. And that will be something that I recommend in this letter that I eventually plan to write. So those are my final thoughts, and we'll get back to you later.
Hopefully with the new series premiering in January, there will be a whole bunch of fresh new content possibilities for next year.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily the actors. I mean, that would be amazing, but not all the actors want to go to these things, but in terms of, fan generated panels where it's people talking about the new series. I mean, for me, that will be the first time that I will ever have gone to a Star Trek convention when there's actually a Star Trek television series airing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, that might be true, or one of the only times they'll have gone to one, because Enterprise ended 2005, 2004, 5, something like that. 2005. Yeah, so that's a while back. So this could breathe fresh new life into the content side of the panel.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think we talked about that at the convention, and that possibility, and having that new influx of people and topics and subjects. And I know that from what we've seen come out about the new series, Brian Fuller he's gay. There's going to be a gay character. It's important for him to make the show progressive. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, but I'm hoping that, we're going to have a female captain again. I'd love to see a captain of color. I really want to see the message of diversity and acceptance live on in this new series. And I think that bringing in topics like that would be very, very valuable. And these fan run panels specifically, we've had different ones throughout the year. We've had people from the Star Trek experience come in and talk about that. There was one about fans that have been in the military and how, the military works into Star Trek and whatnot. I think that really exploring social issues, that's why I love Star Trek, And I think that having discussions, having panels about that would be really amazing. I'm more interested in that than in seeing people that come every single year. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I hope that we see it. If not, then I know I'm going to have a great time with my people having room parties.
Yeah. There was a really cool panel on the Roddenberry stage this year about, it was led by a fan who was from Mexico, and it was all about what it was like in the 90s being a Star Trek fan in Mexico, where Next Generation didn't get aired it was aired at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Right.
And because whatever the Mexican channels were that could syndicate it just felt like there wouldn't be any audience for it. And so it was essentially like being a fan of like Plan 9 from Outer Space or some really bad midnight movie fair type science fiction. That was kind of, perception of Star Trek at the time. And so it was a really interesting panel from this guy who was just sort of basically talking about the fact that he had to struggle uphill to get his Star Trek fix because it was just so hard to come by and just really not socially accepted at all. More so than it was in the United States in the 90s, when it also, you were kind of, it wasn't nearly as amazing as it is now to be a Star Trek fan. Right. I think back then for anyone, anywhere, but it was especially bad for this guy. And, that's a panel that I think never would have made it onto the main stage or the secondary stage in previous years. So I'm really glad that the Roddenberry panel was there to let this guy give a really, really interesting talk that honestly I never would have thought about it from that perspective before. This idea of Star Trek airing at different times or being more or less difficult to come by. It was really great.
I missed that one. I wanted to see it and I missed it, so I'm sad.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned how being into TNG here in the United States wasn't, as sort of, I guess you could say, right? Because, all of us, we remember that time.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
at least that old, right? Like it was,
Yeah.
to be a Trekkie was kind of a, the geeks hadn't won the Earth yet.
Yeah, definitely.
And, but then at the same time, I'm trying to reconcile that with the fact that, sort of in its heyday, Next Generation was like the #1 show on television. It was huge. And so it's kind of funny how loving this thing that apparently, everyone else loved was still not kind of widely accepted, and sort of how that's changed now is really, really interesting. And I think you're right that having the new series, in this new climate where the geeks have inherited the Earth, that's going to be really interesting to see. I kind of can't wait.
Agree.
So I guess that's a good place to start to wrap it up. We've been at this for almost 90 minutes now, and I'm sure we'll have several more Shore Leave episodes dedicated to the 2016 50th anniversary convention. So before we close up, how about we go around the horn and tell people where they can find out more about us on social media? Heather, let's start with you.
I'm on Twitter as Sketching Venus, and then I am one of the 3 administrators of the unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas convention group on Facebook. You can find me through there, and that's it.
Okay, Admiral Claire Little.
I'm on Twitter. I'm Isolinear Chick. That's Chick, CHICK, not Chip, CHIP. And that's really my only social media presence. I'm on Steam. If you're a gamer, hey, that's like the only other place you can find me. Same handle, Isolinear Chick.
Where they just got trade wins. Sorry to interrupt, but
Oh, I know. Oh my God. Yeah, this guy, Ian, worked QA on a game that I wasted a lot of time on college in, like a lot, which is kind of a small world. And you're on a ship right now. So the guy who's actually on a ship worked on this game set on ships. But yeah. Anyway.
Sorry.
And you actually had shore leave, didn't you? You're the only one who had actual shore leave to go to the convention.
I had to put in a request for the government to give me time off so that I could go to the convention.
Yes, which is pretty great. Anyway, yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Ian, how about yourself?
Oh, sorry, Claire. Yeah, so I'm at Ian128K on Twitter, Facebook, which I'm not on nearly as often, facebook.com/ENJ, like the letter J, Adams. And then I'm also working on a Star Trek parody comic. If you want to follow along with that, it's at In the Starfleet on Twitter. And I guess now I could say at TTT_pod.
Yeah, you definitely can. Yes, so look for Ian very, very soon. On the tricordertransmissions.com, you can find out all about all of our different series, including Shore Leave and all of the other ones on our website. We're also on Facebook at the Tricorder Transmissions. And as Ian said on Twitter, TTT_pod. We also have some merchandise up on redbubble.com. Yes. You go there and check out the Tricorder Transmissions, and there's also a link to the store from the website. We have all kinds of stuff for you, and there'll be some new designs coming up very soon that we're currently working on getting out there for some of our different series, so keep an eye out for those. And also, if you want to, it'll be very cool if you listen to the show and you enjoy the show, go over to iTunes and leave us a review. We have several different feeds available for you. Shore Leave, of course, has its own feed. If you're just interested in Shore Leave, you could leave a review for that. Our main feed is the Tricorder Transmissions that has all of our shows commingled together in its own feed. You can also leave a review there. We would absolutely love to hear it. And you can also catch us with us on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think of the show. We'd love to hear, and if you have any suggestions about things that you'd like to hear, we'd love to hear those too. So thanks, of course, for tuning in as always, and we'll be back again next week with another episode. Recording's still going, by the way.
Oh, you gotta leave that
that's
in.
That's not awkward.
Oh, I'm totally gonna. That's our new closing theme.